Part 2. A Rude Awakening. Jules Button was chronically disgruntled. Despite advice from her therapist that getting out more would help alleviate her symptoms, grocery day was doing nothing to improve her gruntle. She'd already lost a passive-aggressive race to the last motorized cart with a man 10 years her junior, and the pace at the deli line was painstakingly slow. Her phone alarm chimed insistently, and Jules cursed under her breath when she saw the notification. 11 a.m. Heart medication. Jules reached into her purse to retrieve her medication discreetly. She'd embraced her 76 years of age gracefully, allowed her hair to turn gray, and started using a cane when her right knee had become more insistent in its protestations, but her reliance on medication was a source of shame. "Excuse me," the man in front of her said as he brushed past, knocking the medication out of her hand. It skittered down the aisle, rolling to a stop at the feet of a young woman stocking shelves nearby. Jules shot the man a glare. "Watch where you're going." "I said excuse me," the man said, not slowing as he walked away. Jaw tight, Jules turned toward the shelf stalker. Short, blonde, and too much makeup for Jules' liking, she held the bottle out. Jules glanced at her name tag. Lily, it read. "Gimme that," Jules said sternly, reading the girl's name tag. "Lily?" The girl looked up from the bottle. "Heart problems?" she said as she handed the bottle back to Jules. "My gran had the same medication before she—" "It's not polite to read other people's medication, young lady," Jules cut in. "Where'd you move the fancy cheese this time?" said Jules, changing the subject. The stalker looked up, confused. "I'm sorry?" "Every few months or so, I finally get used to the layout of this store. It's a struggle for me to get out shopping." She hefted her cane pointedly, "especially when all the motor cart thingies are being used. And now I find that everything's been moved again," she said, frustrated. Lily's expression shifted to annoyance, but not at Jules. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "I know. They call us in on our off days to move things around. The boss says revenue goes up by 2% every time, but it's not worth the hassle." Jules blinked, caught off guard by the camaraderie. "You wait here, ma'am," Lily said warmly. "I'll go grab the cheese for you. What kind did you want to get?" "It's the fancy French triangle one. Port something." "Port de Salut?" "That's the one." "That one's good. You have good taste. I'll be right back. If you could make sure my boxes here don't wander off while I'm gone," she said playfully before heading off. A moment later, Lily returned with the cheese and placed it gently in Jules' cart. She'd been faster than the deli man. "Here," she said, "and I work every Saturday and Sunday. If you ever have trouble finding anything, and you're here on one of those days, just come find me and I'll grab whatever you need." The corner of Jules' mouth betrayed the beginnings of a smile. She pushed her glasses further up her nose and said, "Thank you, Lily. You are a very helpful young lady. I'll be looking for you next time for sure." With her list complete, Jules headed for the register. The cashier, a heavy-set young man with acne scars, kept his eyes down. She recognized him for some reason that eluded her, but she felt like she'd scolded him before. Her transaction concluded, she spotted a manager in a brown vest near the exit. She beelined over to him. "Excuse me," she said to the manager. He turned, recognition flickering across his face, followed by the faintest sigh. His red mustache drooped lower. "Yes, ma'am." "That young grocer Lily is the finest employee I've ever met. She deserves a raise and a promotion," said Jules matter-of-factly. The manager looked surprised. He rubbed his bald head. Thank you," he said, though his tone was more wary than grateful. Jules clucked in affirmation, pleased with herself, and exited the supermarket. Jules rolled the cart to her car. She hefted a bag of groceries into the trunk and turned to grab another. The trunk groaned. Inside lay a tangle of clothing and matted hair. Jules curiously reached out and tapped the lump with one of her keys. Nothing. She poked it again, harder. The lump groaned and suddenly rolled over. Jules gasped in surprise and dropped her bag of groceries. A jar of pickles shattered at her feet. Her vision tunneled, knees buckling. She tried to catch herself with her cane, but it slipped on a pickle, and she went down. The darkness closed in before she could take another breath. Dylan's awareness returned in uncomfortable stages. It was suddenly painfully bright. He pulled the picnic blanket over his eyes, but not before a throbbing headache made itself known. Dylan groaned and pressed his hands to his temple. They came away damp. The heat pressed down on him, and his throat tightened with thirst. Still blinded, he felt around his surroundings until he discovered a cold jar sloshing with liquid. Eyes still shut, He twisted the lid with a pop and tipped it into his mouth. The first gulp hit like a wave of seawater, salty, briny, wrong. An olive followed the offending liquid and lodged itself firmly in his throat. Dylan sat bolt upright, sputtering, coughing, and spilling more of the liquid across his wrinkled, speckled shirt. He thumped his chest once, twice, and on the third the olive shot from his mouth and bounced away. Blinking against the light, Dylan finally opened his eyes. Grocery store parking lot. Sitting in the open trunk of a tan Toyota Camry, olive juice pooling in his lap. "I'm never drinking again," Dylan said to himself, and he swung his legs out of the trunk. He felt his foot press into something soft. Shifting his weight, he glanced down and froze. A small old woman lay on the ground beside the car, her dark skin stark against the bleached tones of the concrete. Dylan gasped and dropped to his knees. Her pulse was weak and her breathing was shallow. Shit. He looked around the lot for anyone to help. Empty. It was still too early in the morning for many shoppers. He dug into his pocket, relief flooding him when his fingers found his phone. He dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? There's a woman. She's passed out. Pulse and breathing still there, but I don't know. I think she fainted, Dylan said, voice shaking. Calm down, sir. Please tell me your location. Dylan glanced at the grocery store. I'm at the Safeway on 6th, I think. He waited, but no response came. Hello? Silence. He checked his phone, but it had died. Shit. Dylan started toward the supermarket, but his first stride kicked a set of keys which jingled on the ground. His gaze went from the supermarket back to the keys, then down to his pickled attire. He was maybe 10 minutes from the hospital. He looked around the lot for patrons one last time. Still no one. This is not smart, he muttered, and he scooped up the keys and cane. He threw them in the back of the Camry. He gently slid his arms under the old woman. She was lighter than she looked. He eased her into the back seat, shut the trunk, and ran to the driver's side. He started the car, and when he adjusted the mirror, he noticed the still full cart of groceries blocking his path out. He hesitated for a moment, then ran to unload the cart into the trunk, aiming for the driest spots on the fabric. Cart shoved aside, he climbed back behind the wheel. Just get to the hospital, he said, pulling out. What the hell happened last night? The fog in his brain had cleared out just enough for a slow stream of memory to trickle in. There was tequila, though the thought of it now made him nauseous. Karaoke, Matt had somehow roped him into singing All-Star by Smash Mouth. Likely another shot of tequila was involved. Then nothing. A blaring horn yanked him from that train of thought as he ran a red light and was forced to swerve violently to avoid a collision. He pulled to the side of the road to catch his breath. Something wooden hit him in the arm hard. "Kidnapper!" shouted Jules. Dylan spun around to find the woman, now very much conscious, wielding her cane like a club. "Hooligan!" Whack. "Get out of my car, you thief!" "Wait!" Dylan threw up his arms to block the hits. I thought you thought you'd take advantage of a helpless old woman?" "No," Dylan protested. "I was just trying to help." Whack. "Help yourself to my car, you mean?" Whack. "Get out, get out, get out!" Dylan fumbled for the door handle. "This isn't what it looks like, I swear." "Get out!" She jabbed him sharply in the ribs. Yelping, Dylan tumbled out of the car and stumbled backward. Jules struggled to get out of the car and then shook her cane at a retreating Dylan. "You picked the wrong one today," she shouted. Dylan ran until he ducked into an alley 2 blocks away. While he caught his breath, he finished his hangover checklist. Phone, already checked but dead. Wallet, back right pocket, no cash, cards all there though. Keys? Shit, no keys. He'd have to deal with that later. His breath was back to normal. Dylan closed his eyes and leaned up against the wall. How the hell had he ended up in that trunk? Matt was involved for sure. He just knew it. Dylan flagged down a passing taxi. He used the ride to list all the ways he was going to get his revenge. By the time he got back to his apartment, he was on number 19. Replace Matt's shampoo with pink hair dye. He swung open the front door, scowl at the ready. Surprise! 16 voices roared at once.